Hi everyone, it's Don and I hope you're having a fantastic day. Well, recently somebody asked me to go over my experience on the Queen Mary 2 as they'll be traveling on it again shortly, and I thought, sure, why not? Let's go over some of the pros and some of the cons of the Queen Mary 2. So first off, let's go over the line itself. Cunard Cruise Line. They're not a huge cruise line. They're owned by Carnival and they literally have three ships right now. So it's not like there's a huge fleet out there of these ships. So they will vary from port to port and location to location. They change locations for their cruises more often than the average cruise ship because they want to cover as much of the world as possible. The thing about these cruise ships is that they're true ocean liners. They are built to withstand the Atlantic Ocean. We all look at the Atlantic Ocean, and when we're going on a cruise, we picture beautiful calm seas and sailing across. Well, that's not always the case. When I took my transatlantic cruise, it was so windy and so stormy that we weren't allowed up on the top decks for 6 of the 7 days of our cruise. It was that bad. We would have just been blown right off the top decks, and the waves were in the neighborhood of 25 to 30 feet on some of the nights, which is, as you can tell, not the calmest waters out there, but the Queen Mary 2 cut through that like butter. We hardly noticed we were in any kind of water at all. Even though the storms are raging outside, the waves are way up on the ship, we just were like that, smooth as butter. So if you're nervous about sailing across the Atlantic, take one of the Cunard ships because those are the ones built the sturdiest with the double hull, narrow front. They're built for going across the Atlantic, and those are the ones that you're going to have the easiest time with as far as any kind of rough seas you might come across. If you were to describe a Queen Mary 2 experience, the one thing you would not say is active. It's not a cruise like a Royal Caribbean on an Oasis class ship where you have flow riders, water slides, skydiving, all the tricks and whistles that are out there. You're not going to have all those things. It's more of a traditional cruise line. It's meant to be first class service, first class food, and a very, I would say, more of an educational upper crust, if you will, for a lack of a better term, type of cruise where formal night is basically every night. Formal night, the lowest formal like sort of dress that you can do on the Queen Mary 2 when I was on her was casual formal, which means I didn't need to wear a tux. But they really dress up on the Queen Mary 2. That's the kind of dining experience they have. The food itself is first class. It's white glove service. It's very, very sophisticated and very, very relaxed. You're not going to be rushed at dinner time like you might be on a large crowded ship where they need to get through the next dining experience as fast as they can to get more people in there. You're not going to be rushed on the Queen Mary 2. You're going to have a great meal, very relaxed, although the choices of food on board will be very limited. It's going to be high quality, but you're not going to, for instance, have in the buffet 400 items to choose from like you can on some cruise ships have just massive, massive buffets. Here you will have a limited selection, four of this thing, four of that, four of this, some desserts, some bread, that sort of thing, and it'll be really good food, really well cooked, you'll have pheasant in the buffet. So you're going to see some things that you might not see on most other cruise ships buffet line, but don't expect a huge assortment as well. Now, as far as entertainment on board, a lot of people are expecting, when you go on a cruise ship, they have the game shows and all those things in the piazza and Well, Cunard really doesn't do that during the day. First of all, their piazza area is rather small. I was surprised at how small it was. I was there at Christmas and they had the tree there and it basically took up the entire piazza. There was hardly any place to sit. It's a very small area because you got to think that the Queen Mary 2 is a very narrow ship designed, to cut through the water. So they don't have a lot of room to expand out to the side. So the piazza area. So you're not going to see the as many game shows that you would. You're not going to play, trivia games in Princess Theater Live, or you're not going to play the yes and no game shows, those sort of things. You will get some trivia sections. What they really do during the day is they have the planetarium on board, and they'll have various shows that you have to get tickets for. It doesn't cost anything. You just have to go down and get them. And the planetarium shows, they have a couple different different shows during the sailing, and that's one of the things they do there. When they're not showing in the planetarium, the planetary show, they are having lectures, and they will have lectures based on the itinerary of what you're doing. So if you're doing a transatlantic, they'll talk about the first transatlantic shipping. They'll talk about how airplanes took over for the traditional cruise line, how cruise lines used to be the only way to get across the Atlantic, and that's why that was their heyday. They'll go through all kinds of things in the history. They'll do the history of Cunard, things that are really, really interesting, but it's not, jumping up and down in dance classes and things that you get involved in. It's something that it's a lecture. Very, very interesting, but it's not, if you would consider, an active entertainment. Entertainment on board, in the theater, traditional, absolutely traditional, kind of like Hollywood and Vegas showgirl type dancing and singing. It is the big costumes and the glamorous, ballroom dancing. You're not going to hear modern pop on the cruise ship. You're not going to hear, Christina Aguilera. You're not going to hear anything from really the modern era. You're going to hear mostly classical and ballroom type dancing and shows on board. They're very interesting. They're very good. Just I want you to know what you're going to see on the ship. The ship itself is beautiful. It's gorgeous. It is cut up a little bit. I was surprised at how many ups and downs there were and levels. You'd be walking across the level and you have to get to the planetarium. You have to go down this little staircase and then there's a slow ramp up like this, and then there's more stairs to get into the planetarium. So you're going down and then back up again. It just seemed awkward, and especially if you're in a wheelchair or have mobility issues, that can be a problem. Now they do have lots of single elevators all over the place where it goes down like 8 feet, 7 feet. That's it, because that's the level that you drop down to. And they have those stationed all over the ship. One of the real fun things is all the classic large photos throughout the history of Cunard that they have all over the areas of the ship. You get to see classic singers and entertainers like Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis. You see Sammy Davis Jr., you see baseball players, you see golfers, you see all kinds of famous people from my era when I was growing up and when they were on Cunard, and those are just gorgeous. They're full-size pictures, and those are absolutely gorgeous. And like I said, it's kind of like a nostalgia cruise. It brings you back to the old way of cruising. Not a lot of bells and whistles on board at all. Get that out of the way. It's a very calm, relaxing, sophisticated cruise. You're going to have good food, beautiful deck space, beautiful wooden deck chairs out surrounding with comfortable padding that you can get, and they have the aft pool where you can look out over the wake of the ship. There's 2 pools back there on 2 different decks. It's absolutely gorgeous up on deck and all over the ship. Just don't expect to be huge, conga lines or big parties at night. There's ballroom dancing at night. That's what's in the entertainment. There's big band sounds in the entertainment. There's Vegas showgirl entertainment. those are the sort of things you're going to get on board. In fact, one of the big selling features on board is that they have a library with like 8,000 books in the library. Well, library is not exactly an exciting event to think about for a cruise ship. So that just lets you know that people like to go get some books, sit, relax, look out at the water, enjoy the trip, enjoy the sunshine, and enjoy the ship itself. They're not looking for the party atmosphere. So that's what you're going to get on Cunard too. Very first class, very good food, very good service. Just, it's a very subdued cruise. And I just want to make sure that that's what you're expecting when you take a Cunard cruise ship, especially on the Queen Mary 2. Well, I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more tips, more tricks, more travel vlogs from around the world, hit that subscribe button. Till next time, have yourself a safe and a great vacation.